Hello everyone, welcome to KnowledgeIndia once again. In this particular video, I want to go ahead and do some EC2 reservation. So we'll try and understand that what is the difference between standard and convertible reservation, and also what are the differences between regional and zonal reservation. So all of these concepts together many times confuse people, and idea is to try and make it simple in this particular video. So let us move ahead and first understand the difference between standard and convertible reserved instances. The difference between the two is the type of flexibility which you get. Between standard and convertible, the convertible one would be slightly costlier, right, than the standard one. And what's the difference? The difference is that in the standard one, you cannot really change a lot of attributes once you have gone ahead and done the reservation. Suppose I go ahead and do a reservation and I have selected, let's say, a particular operating system and m5.large as the instance type, right? So I cannot go ahead and really change it to, let's say, a compute intensive family, C family, or let's say R family later on. That is not possible in standard reservation. Whereas in the convertible one, we can go ahead and exchange our reservation. Basically, let's say today I have reserved an m5.large 4 instances, and tomorrow I want to change it to c5.large. It is possible, right? You can go with different tenancy, different operating system. All of that is possible, right? In standard one, few things you can change. For example, you can change the availability zone, right? Or you can change the size within the same family, but that gives you very slight amount of modification chances. Whereas in convertible one, you can do lot more changes, right? So that's why convertible is slightly costlier. Also, one more thing is that convertible one cannot be sold in the reserved instance marketplace. So for example, if you have reserved a convertible for, let's say, 3 years, and after 1.5 years you don't want to use it anymore, you cannot sell it in the reserved instance marketplace. But the standard one, you can sell it. And maybe, let's say, if there is some other AWS user who wants to buy your reserved capacity or the reservation which you have done, they can buy it. So that's the other difference. The next thing is the difference between regional reservation and zonal reservation, and you will see all of this with demo in a minute. So regional and zonal. In case of regional reservation, the reservation is done at the region level. You are not choosing a particular availability zone, right? Whereas in the zonal reserved, you actually specify an availability zone, right? So what does that mean? In case of regional one, you have the flexibility. Your instance can run in availability zone A or B or C. In any of the availability zone it runs, the discounts or the benefit will be applied. Whereas in case of zonal reserved, you specify the availability zone at the time of reservation itself, and hence your instance should be running in that availability zone only to get the discounts. The second one is capacity reservation or capacity guarantee, and I've talked about it many times in our videos. With regional reserved, you do not get any capacity guarantee. It doesn't allocate a fixed capacity for you in a particular availability zone. That doesn't happen in the regional one. You can go ahead and run your instances in any one of the availability zones in that region and you'll get the discount, but there's no capacity guaranteed for you, or no capacity reservation is not done for you. Whereas in case of zonal reserved instances, because you choose the availability zone, in that particular availability zone, capacity is reserved for you, which means your instance will go ahead and run in that availability zone 100% for sure. Though with the increase of flexibility in the workloads, this point is now becoming lesser important. But if you have a workload where having capacity in a particular availability zone is important, then zonal reserved instances is the answer for you. The last one is instance size flexibility. So what happens is, with the regional reserved instances, specifically for Amazon Linux or basically Ubuntu Linux machines, what happens is, if it is running with default tenancy, the discounts will get applied if the instance is running within the family but of any size. What does that mean? Let's say I have reserved M5 4x large instances and 2 instances of that size. M5 4x large. Now I can go ahead and run M5 2x large instances, and I can run, let's say, 4 such instances, and still I'll get the benefit, right? Or I can go ahead and run M5 8x large, 1 instance, and still I'll get the benefit. The idea is, till the time I'm there in the same family, my instance can be big or small, the applicable discount will get applied. But this works only when your instance is, let's say, Amazon Linux, or basically those Linux offerings which do not have an operating system cost or operating system license involved, right? Whereas in case of zonal reserved, there's no such flexibility. The instance type and family which you reserve, that is what you should run to get the benefits. So I hope you got some idea about all the differences. You might think, which one is costlier between regional and zonal? The cost is going to be same between regional and zonal. You're only deciding upon the feature which you want to get. Price wise, both of them would be same. Whether you want somewhat flexibility and you don't want a capacity guarantee, or you want capacity guarantee and you want to give away some of your flexibility. That's what you have to decide upon. It is also recommended now that if you do not have capacity reservation requirement, then go with savings plans. We do have a detailed video on savings plans. If you want to watch that, I'll leave the link in the description. You can go ahead and check that out. Now let us look at a demo, and in the demo we'll try to see all the possible combinations, which are that you can go with regional standard reservation or regional convertible reservation. Also, you can go for zonal standard or zonal convertible. So we'll try to look at all of those options, and we'll go ahead and try to complete it. We will now go ahead and see a practical demo around reservation of EC2 instances. Currently, I am logged in to the Northern Virginia region. You can see at the top. And I'm there in the EC2 dashboard, gonna look at reserved instances option. So I'll click on purchase reserved instances. And there is a very important thing which you need to see here closely, which is this switch which says only show offerings that reserve capacity, right? So currently it is not on, or it is not selected, right? So what we'll do is, if you look at all the options which are currently available here, you have got platform, in which you can select like kind of which operating system you want to use. You want to use Linux or Unix. So you will select this option if you are going with, let's say, Amazon Linux, or you are going with Ubuntu. Basically those Linux options where, or those Linux operating systems where you do not have an OS license involved, right? You also have like Red Hat. You've got SUSE Linux, and then you have Windows as well, right? Next is tenancy, whether you want to go with default or dedicated. We have discussed in the other video what's the difference between default and dedicated. And then convertible or standard, right? So I'll just show you the difference between these two. Convertible and standard. Out of these two, convertible will be costlier, because with convertible you can change the instance type in between. With standard you won't be able to change that, right? And then you have got instance type, in which you can go ahead and select how big the instance should be which you are reserving, right? Or what sort of capacity you are reserving. So you can go ahead and choose whatever, T3 micro, M4 large, or whatever. Then you've got term. Term is, there are two terms possible, in the reserved instances. It is either 1 year or 3 year, right? So though it is mentioned here 1 to 12 months and 12 to 36 months, the idea is that you would actually not be reserving for, like, say 13 months. That won't be possible. It would be 12 to 36 months, unless sometimes somebody is kind of reselling it, right? Which we'll try to see in a different video. And then you have payment options, all upfront, no upfront, and partial upfront. It makes sense. I mean, if you go with the all upfront option, you will be saving maximum, but you have to pay the money upfront in one shot. Okay, so let me go ahead and press on the search button, and you will see that within Northern Virginia region, we are getting so many offerings. So the way I would want you to kind of segregate this and understand is, look at the term, right? Currently, all the sellers are AWS. So basically here we are not seeing any item which another AWS customer is selling, right? Here everything is from AWS. So that's why the term is either 12 months or it is 36 months. Just to make it simple, let me select 12 months so that you are able to see the difference, right? So now in 12 months, you are able to see different types of options. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 options. Now, if you see, out of 6, 3 are convertible and 3 are standard, right? So if you look at, now I have sorted by payment option. If you look at standard all upfront and you look at convertible all upfront and go ahead and look at the price which has to be paid upfront, you will see that in standard $53 for 12 months duration, whereas for convertible it is $61. So you can see that the standard is cheaper. And what's the reason? The reason is that with standard reservation, you won't be able to change the instance type during the period of reservation. But with convertible, you will be able to change it, which means, let's say for now, I can go ahead and reserve T3 micro, but let's say after a couple of months, I realize that no, I need to go ahead and actually use M5.large instance and not T3 micro, right? Just a scenario. So if you want to change that capacity, you will be able to change that if you have done convertible type of reservation. Okay, so that's one thing. So I hope you understand the difference between standard and convertible. Now, if I just align by this, now within a particular offering class, if you look at all upfront, no upfront, and partial upfront, what happens is, of course, all upfront works out to be the cheapest for you. It works out to be the cheapest for you. You can look at it as well. Effective rate, which works out for you, is $0.006 per hour in case of all upfront, whereas in case of no upfront, it works out to be $0.007. So of course it is higher. In case of like here it is T3 micro, so you are probably seeing partial upfront and all upfront to be same, this and this, but always with all upfront you will save the maximum, right? So I hope this part is clear. So what we can do is we can go ahead and do this reservation. But I just want to show you the other option as well. So what is that other option? Other option is if I go ahead and click on this thing, which is only show offerings that reserve capacity, right? So immediately on switching this option, you can see now we have another attribute coming here or filter coming here, which is availability zone, and which is a very important thing, right? So with this one, you get reserved capacity, right? Which I have explained many times. And what is the benefit of reserved capacity? The benefit of reserved capacity is that whichever availability zone you are choosing, in that availability zone, you will have capacity reserved for you. It will never happen that you try to run your instance and that instance does not come up in that availability zone if you have a reservation done. So that's the benefit, right? So just to show you, like if you see, as soon as you have selected this option or enabled this option, you have availability zone coming up with every offering as well, right? So just to make it clear, let me just select one availability zone so that we see less records and we'll be able to understand this better. Now, if you see, again, this is aligned by convertible and then standard. So within convertible, it is still costing 61, and with standard, it is costing 53. So the price is same, right? The price is same. What I'm trying to tell you here is that if you go with this option or you don't go with this option, the price will be same. But then somebody will ask, then what's the difference really? The difference is if you go with reserved capacity option and you choose an availability zone, then you have one benefit, that you get reserved capacity within that availability zone, but then you are also tied to that availability zone, right? Your reservation works in that availability zone, right? So only when your instance is running in that availability zone, your reservation will get applied on that instance, right? Suppose if I have done this reservation in US East 1A, but I am running my instance in US East 1B, right? Then that reservation benefit will not be applied on that instance. Whereas if I go with without selecting this thing, without selecting the reserve capacity option, and basically if I am going with a reservation where I am not specifying the availability zone, then there is no reserved capacity for me. But the benefit is the lower cost or the reservation benefits will be applied to my instance. Doesn't matter in which availability zone it is running. Even if it is running in US East 1A or 1B or 1C, doesn't matter, because I have reservation done in Northern Virginia region, it will get applied to it. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll now go ahead and just do the reservation now, and let's see, so that you are able to see both the types. Okay, so what I'll do is, first I will go ahead and let me just select. I will say I want, let's say it's standard. I want to save money at this point, so I'm saying standard. And within standard, just I want to see all the different availability zones. Let's see if the price is same in all the availability zones. So let's do this. And I want to go with all upfront option, okay, so that I save the maximum. Okay, so here is the thing. Now if you see whether doesn't matter which availability zone I'm choosing, the price is same. And this is the behavior normally with with EC2 or with RDS. It doesn't change based on the availability zone. The only scenario where the price may differ based on the availability zone is with spot instances, which we are covering in a separate video. So if you haven't subscribed to our channel, go ahead and do that, so that you are able to watch other videos as well and you are notified about it, right? So we'll show a separate demo about that. So at this point, what I would do is I will just go ahead and I will select, probably I'll go ahead with this one. So with US East 1B, and what I'll do, I'll go ahead and say add to cart. So this is added, right? So you can see reserved instance 1, total due is $53. There is no monthly cost, like monthly recurring cost. So just with my current bill itself, I will pay $53, and then this will be reserved for me for 1 year, right? So that will be a T3 micro Linux instance running in US East 1B in availability zone 1B. I have this thing fixed, right? So this is one. What I'll do is I'll add one more. Let's try to search for M series instance, and I will go for currently M5 or M6, whatever is latest. We'll try to select that. So in general family, I think only M5 is there. So let's see the cost of M5 large. So it is 494, quite an amount, right? So I'm not gonna select that. What I'll do is I'll probably just go ahead and select T3 small now. Okay, and this time I'm not choosing any availability zone. I'm choosing standard thing, and I will say add to cart. So now if I press on view cart, there are 2 items added, right? 2 items added. One is T3 micro in US East 1B. So this one reserves the capacity for me, and the second one is just T3 small for 12 months. This doesn't reserve capacity for me, so which means I can go ahead and run a T3 small instance in any of the availability zone. I will get the pricing benefit, but I do not get reserved capacity in this case, right? So this is good. I'll just go ahead and say order all. Let's see. So it says your you successfully ordered 2 reserved instances for $160. This is being processed, this and that, and okay, so it should get processed. So here you can see there are 2 instances which I have reserved now, and if you remember, the instances which will give you reserved capacity benefit, they'll have a scope of availability zone, so which is this one. You can see US East 1B is also mentioned, and the other one which is like which is based on region. So of course this one doesn't give you a reserved capacity. Okay, so with this our reservation is complete, and I hope you got to understand the difference between 2 types of a reservation, one which gives you reserved capacity and one which it doesn't give you reserved capacity, with an example here. Thanks for sticking around. I hope that demo helped you in understanding a bit about EC2 reservation. If you want to watch more such practical videos, go ahead and check our playlist section in the video description. And if you like this, go ahead and share it with your friends, and keep coming back to learn more. Thank you and take care of yourself.